They only saw me as a slave, a girl with no name, no future, no voice. Every glance I received reminded me that I was property, not a person. They didn't see the trembling in my hands, the fire simmering in my heart. But little did they know, one day I would turn their own words, the cruel commands, the whispers, the mockery, into a sword that would pierce their very soul. My name is Hannah, and this is my story, a story of suffering, betrayal, and revenge, a story where a pen became sharper than any weapon, and truth became my power. From my very first steps, all I knew were chains. My small feet blistered on the burning plantation soil, and the overseer's whip cracked near my ear as a constant reminder that every breath I took was not my own. My master's eyes pierced me like daggers. They saw only a tool, an object, a means to an end. But deep within me, a quiet rebellion stirred. A hidden voice whispered in the dark, "You are not just a slave. You are human. One day, your voice will echo beyond these fields. One day, your truth will be heard." And then I learned the cruelest truth. My own master, the man who claimed ownership over my very existence, was planning the ultimate betrayal. He would sell me, not as a woman, not as a person, but as property. That night, I cried silently, hugging the worn blanket I had, listening to the floorboards creak under the weight of the house's secrets. But as tears blurred my vision, my soul hardened. If he could sell me, then I would sell my story. I would reveal the darkness behind his mansion, the sins behind his wealth, the pain he thought buried forever. Every lash, every humiliation, every stolen dream, I would immortalize them with my pen. I began to write in secret. Every night, when the house fell silent and the moonlight crept through the shutters, I would light my candle and let my hand move. Each word was a drop of blood. Each sentence a scream that could not be spoken aloud. I wrote of fear, of pain, of the lash and the chains, but I also wrote of the fire that refused to die inside me, the courage I had to cling to. I was no longer just a slave. I was a witness, a writer, a sword hidden in plain sight, my ink sharper than any steel. Sometimes I felt as if I were trapped inside a haunted mansion. Every door creaked like a whisper, "Write, Hannah, write." The wind moaned through the empty hallways, shadows danced across the walls, forming shapes of those who had suffered and survived before me. Their eyes seemed to watch, urging me forward. Even in the pitch-black nights, I saw faces, faces of women whose lives had been stolen, faces of children whose cries had gone unheard. Their pain became my power, their whispers became my courage, and with each stroke of my quill, I turned terror into strength, fear into defiance. My master believed he had silenced me. He thought his locks, his punishments, his control could bury my voice forever. But he did not know that I had brought my words to life. I wrote my first manuscript, the final scream of a slave woman, a story that would one day shake the very foundations of those who claimed ownership over others. Every secret he hid, every act of cruelty, every lie, I captured with my pen, and in that act, I became free even before my body left the plantation. One night, I made a choice. I would escape. Clutching my manuscript to my chest, my pen my only weapon, I ran. Through thick woods, past the shadows that threatened to swallow me, over the ground that had been my prison. Each step was defiance, each breath a claim to freedom. The moon guided me, the wind whispered encouragement, and the chains around my heart shattered with every stride. I was no longer a slave. I was the master of my own story, the author of my own destiny. Years later, my master thought he had erased me from the world. He searched, he raged, he cursed the wind. But I had become the wind. And then the news came to him. A woman had written a book, a story where masters like him and slaves like me were immortalized. He picked it up, each word piercing him like a blade, each sentence a mirror reflecting his sins. I was far away, yet my spirit struck his heart. Every lash, every threat, every moment of terror, now his guilt was inescapable. My revenge was complete, not in blood, but in truth, not with chains, but with words. I wrote my voice for the women who could never speak, for the children who were denied dreams, for the mothers whose hopes were stolen. My revenge was not just mine, it belonged to all who had suffered in silence. Through my words, their cries became immortal. Through my pen, their struggles became stories that would never be forgotten. Their legacy, our legacy, lives on in every sentence, every page, every heart that hears it. And today, as you listen to this story, remember this. Sometimes the greatest revenge is not taken with a sword, it is taken with a pen. I am Hannah. I was a slave. But my story, my words, my voice, will live forever. No chain, no whip, no cruelty can erase what truth has written. This is my revenge. This is my freedom. This is my legacy. And as long as these words are read, heard, remembered, I am unstoppable.